remembering those that perished on the sinking of the RMS Titanic on April 15, 1912. The information provided was obtained and used from findagrave.com. This video contains passengers with the last name starting with R. The remaining passengers will follow shortly. Alexander Radev, age 26, born in Bulgaria. His occupation was listed as a general laborer and he was traveling to Illinois. Alexander perished in the sinking and his body was never recovered. The next victim is Rashid Raisi, age 30, born in Lebanon. He was a third-class passenger and his body was never recovered. The next victim is James George Reed, age 17, born in Wales. He was a third-class passenger and his occupation was listed as a butcher. James perished in the sinking and his body was never recovered. His cenotaph is located in Wales. The next victim is David Reeves, age 36, born in England. He was a second-class passenger and his occupation was listed as a carpenter. David perished in the sinking and his body, if recovered, was never identified. The next victim is Ejdo Rekic, age 37, born in Bosnia. He was married and his occupation was listed as a laborer. Ejdo boarded the Titanic as a third-class passenger and was traveling to Pennsylvania. He perished in the sinking and his body, if recovered, was never identified. The next victim is Peter Henry Renouf, age 33, born in Guernsey. He was a second-class passenger and boarded the Titanic along with his wife. They were accompanied by his wife's two brothers and a friend. They were all traveling to New Jersey. Peter perished in the sinking and his body, if recovered, was never identified. The next victim is Jonkheer Johan George Royklen, age 37, born in the Netherlands. He was the director of the Holland America Line. Jonkheer was married and had 3 children. He was a first-class passenger and was on board, evaluating the Olympic-class liners. Jonkheer perished in the sinking. His cenotaph is located in the Netherlands. The next victim is Harold Reynolds, age 20, born in England. He was a third-class passenger and his body was recovered by the Montmagny. Harold was buried in Canada. The next victim is the Rice family. Mother, Margaret Norton Rice, age 39, born in Ireland. Son, Albert Rice, age 10, born in England. Son, George Hugh Rice, age 8, born in Canada. Son, Frederick Thomas Rice, age 6, born in Canada. Son, Arthur Rice, age 4, born in Canada. Son, Eugene Francis Rice, age 2, born in Washington. Margaret was married and her first son passed away at the age of 7 weeks in 1899. The baby choked to death on a dummy pacifier. 5 other sons would then follow. Tragedy struck once again for Margaret in 1910. Her husband William passed away tragically in a train accident. Margaret collected a substantial life insurance settlement and returned back to Ireland. She then decided to move back to Washington. Margaret boarded the Titanic along with her 5 sons. They were third-class passengers and they all perished in the sinking. Margaret's body was recovered by the Mackay Bennett and listed as number 12. She was buried in Canada. Her 5 children's bodies were never recovered or identified. The next victim is Sante Regini, age 28, born in Italy. He was a manservant for Ella White. Sante boarded the Titanic and was emigrating to the United States to live with his sister. His body was recovered by the Mackay Bennett and listed as number 232. Almost 1 month after the sinking, his body was finally identified. Sante's hair was dark, slight mustache, and he was wearing black pants, a gray overcoat, that was marked Sante. His effects were a ring on the left finger with the initials, RS on it. Sante was buried in New York and shares a plot with his sister and his brother-in-law. The next victim is Susanna Juhantitor Raihavuri, age 22, born in Finland. She was traveling with another family, possibly to work as their maid. They were traveling to Pennsylvania. Susanna perished in the sinking and her body was never recovered. The next victim is Matti Rintamaki, age 35, born in Finland. He was married and had 7 children. Matti's occupation was listed as a farmer. He was traveling with a group of people to Canada. Matti perished in the sinking and his body was never recovered. His wife brought a civil suit against the White Star Line for manslaughter and grave neglect. The case was heard on January 24, 1913 and was settled with a payment of £375 or $1,830 in US dollars and earned $287 a year. The next victim is the Razine family. Husband, Samuel Beard Razine, age 69. Wife, Emma Jane Lelliot Razine, age 63. They were born in England and Samuel's occupation was listed as a grocer. They boarded the Titanic as third-class passengers and their bodies were never recovered. The next victim is Sadeh Nasser Rizk, age 20, born in Lebanon. He was a third-class passenger and his body was never recovered. The next victim is Victor Robbins, age 45, born in England. He was a manservant to John Jacob Astor. Victor perished in the sinking and his body, if recovered, was never identified. The next victim is the Robbins family. Husband, Alexander Robbins, age 46, born in England. Wife, Grace Charity Laurie Robbins, age 47, born in England. Alexander's occupation was listed as a stonemason. They were in England visiting family and boarded the Titanic returning home to New York. They were third-class passengers and was accompanied by his nephew, Washington. Alexander's body was recovered by the Mackay Bennett and listed as number 119. Grace's body was recovered by the Mackay Bennett and listed as number 7. They both are buried in New York. Nephew, Washington Augustus Roebling II, age 31, born in New Jersey. His occupation was listed as a chief engineer and he constructed the Brooklyn Bridge. Washington also designed and built the Roebling Planche racing car. He finished in second place in the Vanderbilt Cup race in 1910. Washington was a first-class passenger and he perished in the sinking. His cenotaph is located in New Jersey. The next victim is Matthew Rogers, age unknown. He was reportedly born in Dublin. Matthew was married and his occupation was listed as a shoemaker. Matthew's estimated age is about 27, however, according to the 1911 census, his age was given as 40. He perished in the sinking. The next victim is Reginald Harry Rogers, age 18, born in England. He was encouraged by his uncle to emigrate to the United States. He booked on another ship, but due to the coal strike, he was transferred to the Titanic. Reginald was a second-class passenger and was traveling to Pennsylvania. He perished in the sinking and his body was never recovered. Reginald's cenotaph is located in England. The next victim is William John Rogers, age 30, born in Wales. He was a third-class passenger and he perished in the sinking. William's body was never recovered. His occupation was listed as a miner. William's cenotaph is located in Wales. The next victim is Knut Post Rametvedt, age 49, born in Norway. His occupation was listed as a tailor. Knut was a third-class passenger and was traveling to New York. He perished in the sinking and his body was never recovered. Knut's cenotaph is located in Norway. The next victim is Edvard Larsson Ronberg, age 22, born in Sweden. He was a cook and resided in Montana. Edvard returned to Sweden to bring his fiancée back to Montana. He perished in the sinking and his body was never recovered. The Mansion House Fund paid £48 or $234 to his parents, and a claim for damages of £75 or $370 was paid in 1914. The next victim is Hugh Roscoe Rood, age 39, born in Iowa. He and his wife made their home in Washington, where he was the vice president of the Pacific Creosote Company. They were in Paris when Hugh booked a single ticket on the Titanic for a business trip to New York. Hugh was a first-class passenger and he perished in the sinking. His body, if recovered, was never identified. The next victim is the Rosblum family. Mother, Helena Wilhelmina Rolla Rosblum, age 41. Son, Victor Richard Rosblum, age 18. Daughter, Sally Helena Rosblum, age 2. They were all born in Finland. They were traveling to Oregon, where Helena's husband was. Her 10-year-old son refused to travel and was left in Finland. Sally got sick and they had to postpone the trip and finally booked on the Titanic. The family perished in the sinking and their bodies were never recovered. Compensation was later paid out to the husband in the amount of £100 or $487. The next victim is George Rosenshine, age 45, born in Germany. He owned the Rosenshine brothers, along with his 2 brothers. It was an import company specializing in ostrich feathers. His mother passed away 1 year prior. He boarded the Titanic under an assumed name because his traveling companion was his mistress. They were returning from a business trip and holiday and were first-class passengers. The mistress survived the sinking, but George did not. His body was recovered by the Mackay Bennett and listed as number 16. George was wearing a dark gray overcoat, black suit, black gloves, and his underclothing was marked with the initials of GR. His effects were a gold watch, memo book, bunch of keys, a letter of credit from the Guarantee Trust Company. He had notes in pocketbook, $430, along with a U.S. savings bond in memo book. He also had an affidavit of personal property for his mistress. George's brother claimed his body, and it was forwarded to New York, where he was buried in the family plot. The cemetery and the family plot has fallen into serious disrepair due to the location and crime. George's estate was valued at over $160,000 and was administered among family and several organizations. However, this was contested, claiming that this was not his last will that was in place. The next victim is John Hugo Ross, age 36, born in Canada. He boarded the Titanic and was accompanied by his friends. They were traveling to Canada. John's body was never recovered. His cenotaph is located in Canada. The next victim is Martin Rothschild, age 46, born in New York. He was a first-class passenger and he perished in the sinking. Martin's cenotaph is located in New York. The next victim is Richard Henry Rouse, age 54, born in England. He was a third-class passenger and he perished in the sinking. Richard's body was never recovered. The next victim is Alfred G. Rowe, age 59, born in Peru. He was a first-class passenger. Alfred's body was recovered by the Mackay Bennett and listed as number 109. He was buried in England. Alfred's occupation was listed as a pioneer in the cattle farming. The next victim is Alfred George Rush, age 17, born in England. He boarded the Titanic and was accompanied by another family and a friend. They were third-class passengers and were traveling to Michigan. Alfred celebrated his birthday on the Titanic. He perished in the sinking. The next victim is Patrick Ryan, age 32, born in Ireland. His friend from New York was visiting him and tempted Patrick to return with him. Patrick possibly had a job at the police department there. They were third-class passengers and was accompanied by his friend's sister and another woman. The women survived, but Patrick and his friend did not. Patrick's body, if recovered, was never identified. His elderly father sued White Star Lines and was awarded £100 or $487. Patrick's cenotaph is located in Ireland. The next victim is Arthur Larned Ryerson, age 61, born in Illinois. He was married and had 5 children. His son, age 20, was killed in an automobile accident 7 days earlier, in Pennsylvania. Arthur boarded the Titanic along with his wife and 3 of his children. They all survived, but Arthur did not. Arthur's cenotaph is located in New York and he has a headstone that is located in Illinois. If you like this content, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel at MeTime806. Thank you very much.